This past fall, Canadian Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist congregations participated in inclusivity forums, roundtable conversations, and congregational dialogue around the proposed eighth principle. A year ago, in May 2021, at the Canadian Unitarian Council's annual general meeting, a delegate requested the immediate adoption of the eighth principle. After much back and forth at the meeting, an unanticipated vote and approval of the proposal happened. And then a week later, an announcement was made that the vote was invalid. It was a whirlwind of events and emotions over the weeks after the adoption and announcement of it being invalid. The staff at the CUC then spent the summer months preparing inclusivity forums, roundtable conversations, and a process through which congregations could use to adopt the principle on an individual basis. In November, a second vote happened, and the eighth principle was adopted at a national level. We affirm and promote individual and communal action that accountably dismantles racism and systemic barriers to full inclusion in ourselves and our institutions. Much of the preliminary workshops and conversations around the adoption had to do with the individual pieces of the principle. What do we mean by accountability? Who is defining racism? What are systemic barriers? Much of the conversation that happened throughout those 6 months and after the adoption on November 27th focused on the logistics of the principle, focused on wordsmithing and whether or not the statement was a principle in the same way that the other 7 principles were. As a member of staff at the Canadian Unitarian Council, I had a sense of relief when the principle was adopted, because I would be able to stop focusing on the details surrounding the vote and start focusing on the hows of the process. How do we remove systemic barriers? How do we identify them? How do we widen our circle of inclusion? I'm not sure that I would compare this transition to that of the one described from The Wizard of Oz. It wasn't that we were moving from a space of monochromatic, dull exclusion into a world of technicolor inclusivity, but I was looking forward to the shift in focus, away from adoption and towards action. UU congregations have put a lot of effort towards widening their circles of inclusion when it comes to supporting LGBTQ plus communities. And this congregation, First Toronto, has been at the cutting edge of a lot of that work, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. And yet, I would argue that there is still so much that needs to be done. So much work on inclusion that can be done in terms of the queer community. Homophobia, a prejudice against gay individuals, has been one of the biggest hurdles that was overcome with the development of Welcoming Congregations program, first conceived in 1989 at the UUA's General Assembly. Although the UUA had been on record since the 1970s as supporting the rights and worth of lesbian, gay, and bisexual persons, the lived experience of these people in UU congregations spoke a different and painful truth. The original handbook was published in 1990, with updates made in 95, 99, and 2002, with the final update including workshops entitled Racism and Homophobia/Heterosexism, The Radical Right, Bisexuality and Biphobia, and transgender identity, what it means. I wonder if one of the largest insights achieved from the Welcoming Congregations handbook and program was the realization that heteronormativity, or the assumption that everyone is straight, was losing its power within our communities. The celebration of same-sex unions, the recognition of Pride Month, and the witnessing of relationships outside of the monochromatic norms that previously escaped our worldview became part of our Unitarian Universalist identity. The Welcoming Congregation Handbook was discontinued in 2014 after having had no updates for 12 years. There are so many resources for Unitarian Universalist congregations to continue the work of becoming welcoming congregations. But perhaps congregations believe that they have already achieved that layer of inclusion. As was made clear in our reading from Reverend Dr. Patrick Chen, there are many different layers when talking about finding inclusion and welcome in any community. And perhaps we as UU communities have done work around heteronormativity. But have we created and have we overcome the same hurdles when we consider cis normativity? The assumption that cisgender is the norm. I know that Toronto First has also worked on this aspect of welcoming. I was an intern in the congregation when the signs were installed on the washrooms, encouraging people to use the bathroom that best suited their gender identity. But what about when a person's gender expression doesn't jive with their gender identity? Or when a person's pronouns don't appear to fit with their expression? Have we created space where individuals feel welcome to bring the entirety of their humanity, where the entirety of their humanity will be celebrated? This past December, I volunteered my partner Adam and I to participate in one of the inclusivity forums that were created and facilitated by Aaron Horvath and Amber Belmar from the CUC. The topic of the forum was diverse relationships and families. My partner Adam is a trans man who began his transition in 2008, several years before I met him. And I was hoping that we would be able to share the experience of what it means to be a straight passing couple during this forum, what it means to be witnessed as heterosexual, and how harmful it can be when assumptions are made about this. In particular, I was interested in sharing with people how harmful and hurtful it was to assume that Adam and I could conceive children whenever we chose to do so, but also the other myriad of assumptions that we make about hetero couples and cis individuals. However, the interview didn't necessarily go as I had intended it to do. And what really came through our interview was much more focused on my understanding of our Unitarian Universalist principles and what it means to me to be a UU. The beginning of our relationship, more than 5 years ago now, much like the beginning of any relationship, focused on learning about the other person and trying to understand who each of us were as human beings, how we wanted to be perceived as individuals, and how we wanted to be witnessed within the world. Being able to offer to another person the perception that they long for, the witness of self that they are attempting to put forward, can be one of the most sacred acts that we can offer to one another. To be able to be witnessed by a person as they wish to be seen, to be able to offer to someone the chance to figuring out who they are and how they want to be in the world, allows us to create a space where everyone and every part of that person is welcome. Reverend Dr. Patrick Cheng speaks to the creation of this space within his book, Rainbow Theology. His research and theological reflections lift up the intersectionality of race and sexuality, and how that intersectionality can create a new way through which Christians can understand spirituality. That there is a broader way in which individuals experience the world, and we can use that experience to critique how spirituality has been perceived and leveraged in the past. In the summary of his book, Chang states, simply put, rainbow theology is a theology that is written by and for LGBTIQ people of color. Community that is predominant. It is a theology that fully embraces the beautiful hues of race and ethnicity in an LGBTIQ community that is predominantly white. It is also a theology that fully embraces the variety of sexualities and gender identities in communities of color that are predominantly straight and cisgendered. And also, rainbow theology is a broader methodology and critique that can appeal to all forms of theological reflection. And while I agree that there is something particular about the intersection of sexuality and race, I also want to lift up that there are unique perspectives and powerful experiences at every intersection of our identities. As we weave in the understanding of class, disability, and age into the intersections of sexuality, gender identities, and race, we move closer and closer to perceiving the Technicolor world. Not only is there a brilliance of Technicolor available to us as we continue to expand our understanding of welcome and inclusion, but I believe that Unitarian Universalism and Unitarian Universalists have a really unique opportunity to share our own theology expressed in our principles. When combined and expressed together, the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, alongside the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, create this incredible opening for the witnessing of humanity. I believe that at the crux of these two principles, there might be part of the work that is required for us to move towards achieving our eighth principle. The inherent worth and dignity of every human being, and the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We combine these two principles together to create the opportunity to witness someone as the search for their truth and offer them worth and dignity that they crave while searching for their identity. Not only is there beauty in that diversity that we continue to search for, but there is beauty in witnessing on the never-ending road to discovering those truths. And I hope that that is where we can find the end of our rainbow. Thank you so much.